38. This is Into the Nexus, the October 11th episode. I'm Kyle Fergusson, and joining me, as Garrett is on vacation and business, is Jeff Cannata. Welcome back to the show, Jeff.
I neither get vacations nor do business, so it's perfect. It works out great. I can be here. I'm excited.
The ever watchful eyes on the Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and what a fun time. I mean, it's a crazy time for video games in general because we're getting all of our big Christmas releases coming out, but we're also just counting down mere weeks away from BlizzCon. It's so close. I got my confirmation email today. I'm so excited. Can't wait.
Yeah, all that's coming together. Getting ready to report on site for the big event. The information's coming about what the esports is going to look like. Looks like it's going to be a madhouse, multiple games happening at the same time. On today's show, we're certainly going to be talking about balance changes that are coming together to formalize what our esports event is going to look like. But also our home event is drastically changing, and we have a new hero.
Yeah, what better time to introduce a new hero than just a couple of weeks before BlizzCon?
He's not allowed. He's not allowed there. It's worth saying that at the top here.
Crazy.
Announcement, Mal'Ganis is coming to Heroes of the Storm, and he will not be allowed at BlizzCon.
Yes, there's a strict no Mal'Ganis policy. That's what they say: no Mal'Ganis, no shoes, no service. But not for any of the esports that's being all of the championships that are being competed at BlizzCon. We will see no Mal'Ganises.
No Mal'Ganis.
Or Mal'Gani, I guess.
Dreadlordy.
Dreadlordy. I think that's what my mom used to say when something bad would happen. Dreadlordy.
It's a Nathrazai because it's in his talents. So
nice.
I think that is perhaps the homeworld. It's a Zerg situation with the demons. The fell dudes. They went from planet to planet and kind of infested them.
Yeah.
And so there's demons are all from different worlds, and I think it's the Nathrazim and the Nathrazai.
Okay. Nathrazai, potato, right?
Yeah, whatever. I corrupt you, you corrupt me. We're all a happy Dreadlord family.
All right. This is definitely an A-list guy, though, man. He's a top-tier lore character. He's major influence in the Warcraft universe. I think he's one of those names that people always bat about as to, is he going to make it into Heroes of the Storm? And we're finally getting him.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to take a step back and look at this year from above and see that it has been the year of most requests. And I don't know if that's because they pulled back. They said one hero every 6 weeks. We want to make sure each hero hits, powerful. We don't want to get weird.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. When you look through the year, you have them all listed here. It really is a greatest hits collection for the most part. They are big, most requested heroes that people have been looking forward to for a long time, and they're all jam packed into this year. You don't really have any Lunaras in this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Or Probius. So it wasn't Fire Battis,
right? Fire Battis. Fireberry or whatever his name would be.
I mean, there is a little sadness. I think that rings out for a lot of people anytime they put out a skin or a character summons something like, oh, Mal'Ganis shoots bats. I guess we're not getting Batius as a hero.
Yeah. But I mean, there have been definitely those heroes that come to Heroes of the Storm. I think Lunar for me is one where I love playing that hero. She's one of my favorite heroes to play, but not exactly jumping up and down when they announced Lunara was making it into the, it's not from a lore standpoint, not exactly one that I was, crossing my fingers for. But as you mentioned, all of the heroes that they've announced in 2018, I would say maybe Urel would be the only one that you would say, and Whitemane, I guess, had that kind of thud effect too. But other than that, I mean, Deckard Cain, Mephisto, Phoenix. There's a lot of really, yearned for heroes that made it into the game.
Yeah, and even the ones that we think of as a bit oddball or where did this come from are heavily requested. An evil support. When are we going to get our full evil team? And Whitemane is, kind of evil.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, she's Scarlet Crusade. It was run by a Dreadlord, so when you make your Dreadlord comps next week, you can run Whitemane with it.
Very important. Very important. What are you putting Illidan in the dreadlord comp?
You know, I actually had to think about this quite a bit because I don't think so. You got your Warcraft 3 Scourge faction heroes, which are now complete thanks to the Dreadlord.
Arthas,
Yep.
right?
Kel'Thuzad, Lich,
Right.
Anubarak, and now a Dreadlord. So they were all on the same team for the race that made up the Scourge and the Undead. But they're not really friends.
Yeah, that's true. But are any of them really friends? I mean, everybody's stabbing everybody in the back, you know?
And Kel'Thuzad released with Dreadlord Jaina, so I guess Dreadlord Jaina can hang out there, and that means that Scourge Zagara. So if you skin it, I think it gets easier, but
Yeah, Dreadlord Jaina, right. Does Sylvanas make that team?
see, it looks great in your head,
Yeah.
but once you line it up, you're like, well, Arthas was standing there, and the sword whispered to him and said, kill Mal'Ganis, Mal'Ganis himself.
Yeah.
So clearly, the Kel'Thuzad doesn't like Mal'Ganis. They all want him dead.
But not the sword won't say that until after you destroy the core. You know, you destroy the core, and then the sword goes, kill me.
That's a good point. So they work together, you know, one of those team-ups, the old Optimus Prime kind of situation. Oh, man, we got to work with Megatron again. Ah, well.
Although I do love the opportunity for some of those pre-match vocal lines. You know, if you pick an Arthas on your team and a Mal'Ganis, you know, there's some fun back and forth before the match starts. I hope they go lean into that, you know.
And we got a great email, which, you know, of course, this is always, it feels a bit spoiled to have this conversation. Every time a hero comes out, you're like, oh man, like, what could they possibly do next? But here we are on the edge of BlizzCon. Let's just be spoiled gamers for a moment. What is left to do? This is the most requested list. And when you look at what's popping up on Reddit all the time, Deathwing, Overmind, and Imperious is the list that's left.
Yeah, and even Deathwing feels like it's how did they even do another dragon at this point? You know, I feel like the dragon thing's been done a bit, and I mean, Overmind seems like the most fun one because, like, how do you even do that? That feels like the fun, crazy one, but I think. I mean, there are still some Overwatch heroes. Reinhardt, I think, would be a fun character to see in the game. A lot of the Overwatch heroes, I think, map pretty closely to heroes, the mechanics of heroes, the kits of heroes we already have. So some of those are a little tricky. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have that crazy long wish list like I used to because they've knocked a lot of them off. You know, they've done them.
And there's ones that, if we think of the, you know, Deathwing versus Alexstrasza, it's a cute matchup. And I want my Diablo 2 Druid, but Greymane, kind of in that same vein, is occupying the werewolf space.
Yeah.
So do we still get that? And something that Overwatch does so well is the silhouettes. And any Overwatch character really could enter this game and just be instantly recognizable. They all move rather uniquely. They all look unique. There's, you know, maybe a situation when you're with the Widowmaker Nova sort of thing. Anna's fine. She's got the cloak going on, but she has to have that cloak. If she loses the cloak, then we're back to random sniper. We're not sure who's running at us.
Right.
But Reinhardt certainly is, I think, my certainly most requested one. I was even scared when they were putting out the teasers for Mal'Ganis. There was the greenish yellow energy flying with the purple energy, and that's Moira's thing. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I said to you that I yesterday when we were doing my stream that my most desired thing at this point for Heroes of the Storm is to figure out a way to do the Innkeeper or some way to have Hearthstone represented in this game on its own. I mean, Hearthstone, of course, is a game that uses all the, you know, World of Warcraft characters anyway, but to make it its own identity, because this really is, you know, the Blizzard All-Stars game, I would love them to figure out some way to have Hearthstone feel like it's represented in Heroes of the Storm. I think that would be the most exciting thing from my perspective, but maybe there's something I'm not thinking of. I don't know.
Well, and it's you can see it in your head. Like he's skipping. He's light on his feet, the Innkeeper. He's got his little box ready to play some cards next to him, and he, you know, is trotting along kind of Lily style, just so excited to be there outside of something more brooding Like
Yeah.
even Muradin is on the field.
Totally. Yeah. I think that'd be super fun. But yeah, man, I don't know at this point. I'm surprised Mal'Ganis is coming out this close to Blizz, or was announced this close to BlizzCon. Mal'Ganis feels like a fun BlizzCon reveal character, which whenever that kind of thing happens, I always say, well, they must have bigger bullets in the chamber, right? If they're firing off a bullet like Mal'Ganis this close to BlizzCon, there must be something even more interesting to talk about at the show, right?
And that's what you have to think is he is a heavily requested character, a warrior, possibly a main tank, and those are important aspects that we need to fill out the roster for. And it's nice to have a fan favorite, but let's get some more warriors in the game that can tank. They have said multiple times, we tried Ragnaros as a core replacement. We tried X-Hero as a core replacement. That we could finally get that, now 4 years in, Overmind replacing the core. We figured it out, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm into that. That'd be cool.
I think of other, when I think of the Overwatch situation, the Silhouettes, Cenarius, a Trident that, burrows into where a tower used to be. Maybe a mini Ragnaros there, Ashara, or any sort of Naga Sea Witch. Ashara's just got so much stock in her right now. Yeah,
Ashara would be cool just because of how big she's playing into this expansion, too. I think that'd be fun. But I wonder if they're... Do you think that they would have enough a runway to have made a synergistic kind of situation happen with and it feels like it's going to be the year of Diablo at BlizzCon, right? So do you think there'll be some sort of Diablo theme to what they come out with?
It's very possible, looking at that Imperius character.
Yeah.
And I wonder what... Something we talked about last week, and I'm definitely curious of your opinion on, is there's all these new games, particularly things that are kind of overtaking Heroes of the Storm streamers at the moment, is Battle Royale.
Yeah.
I wonder what the team is seeing. You look at Morales and you say, hey, let's put her in a situation by herself. Oh my goodness, let's not make a Royale.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about this a little yesterday as well, and I loved the discussion that you and Garrett had last week about the idea of making Heroes of the Storm have its own Royale mode. It's an interesting idea, right? I feel like I have confidence that this team, if they were inspired by that, would come up with some cool take on it that didn't feel derivative and really made the mechanics of this kind of game work. And I'm curious as to how that would play, but it's not a mode that I'm anxious to see. I'm not super hoping that that's going to happen because, like you said, the Morales is, and there's, I don't know, probably a dozen characters in the game that just wouldn't work, wouldn't be useful to have in a solo winner takes all, winner last man standing type of a situation. So I feel like, that's a completely different kind of balance problem, right? And so do they balance the game for that mode? Do they balance characters for that mode? Plus, I like playing as a team. I like the team aspect of it. What I would love, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before on the show, but I would love a sort of an adventure mode, kind of how Hearthstone has it, where you kind of do story modules with your team. It's like queuing for a mythic in WoW, or queuing for a raid or something. You're doing a 5-man dungeon and you fight through Heroes of the Storm isometric style with those heroes, and you fight waves of enemies and you take down bosses. And I think that would be really fun. But again, different game. So I don't know.
I think it could be done, particularly if there's characters that we're not going to get in game. People like to bring up Orphea, this new comic character that's running around, the lore that they're building around the game, so they can have a space to play in. And I get it. It's easy for me to say, oh man, I want to see, Uther having a picnic lunch with Sonya. Wouldn't that be funny? Let's have Gul'dan going around collecting up all the bad guys and getting them in some sort of super Spider-Man bank robbery squad. But where does that go? Does it just fall flat eventually? Are we just joking and palling until nothing actually happens? So I understand why they made the custom characters they did.
And do you play Brawl? That's the question, is I don't really play Brawl. So is it even you know, as much as people were saying, oh, we got to have that brawl mode, we got to have that brawl mode from however many BlizzCons it was where they showed the brawl mode and then didn't talk about it. And then everybody was like, oh, that brawl mode. And then they brought it into the game. And it's like, okay, but that's not really the game that we all love, you know? So I don't know how much effort you want them to put into trying something different or just continuing to make the thing that we're all signed up for already even better, you know?
Yeah, and I think maybe moving, because people are playing more AI than we can possibly imagine. Certainly I can.
Yeah.
If we can find a way to, for fun, transfer those people into our player sphere in that sort of mythic idea of, hey, you wanna play AI? How about instead of Elite AI, we put it to Mythic 3, and they're a little over-buffed. And maybe that enemy is the Overmind. And every character looks like it's Abathur clone. And that's what you're battling, and it's kind of themed like that. Or we fight the Raven Lord in this particular one, and everything's themed around they've all got their Raven Lord skins on.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I think it'd be cool to fight through like a story too. I think that'd be neat. I mean, basically what Hearthstone does with you know, their adventure mode, you know, where you're kind of going through the little story beats. I think that would be really cool. I'm also not opposed to, you know, hey, you sign up for Elite mode AI and it just puts in real players and doesn't tell you.
I think that'd be a cute experiment.
Yeah. It just doesn't put the player names above it. It just, you know, displays it to you as if it's AI. And they're like, man, this AI is really thinking outside the box. Also, it's doing some stupid things.
And then you add some, you know, some lines in there like, why weren't you guys with me every time the AI dies? And no one knows the difference.
It's basically just it's training wheels for actually playing in, you know, live game.
What I think is interesting is that we can notice a pattern in the BlizzCon releases at this point now of a duel of some kind. We had Ragnaros versus Varian in a full-blown sort of duel. We had the friendly duel, are you ready, champion Alexstrasza, Hanzo business.
Right.
We could do a Imperious with a friend fighting our new AI mode Overmind.
That's interesting. I mean, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
I mean, I'd just like to see, for the picture's sake, Imperious and Reinhardt clasping hands, start of Predator style, pushing pencils.
I'm into that. I'm into that. I mean, I think because this has been the year of fan favorites and because there aren't those big glaring holes in the roster like there used to be, I think that's almost more exciting for me this year going into BlizzCon because I just have no concept of what it could be. You know, I think there was always that like, maybe this is the year that they announced Deckard Cain. Maybe this is the year that, you know, that there's nothing like that for me this year. It feels like, well, it's just a completely blank slate, which is even more exciting because I can get completely surprised, I think.
There are two things that I feel like are actually just absolutely going to happen. We're going to talk about reworked, and they've said it's not going to be a huge rework, but reworked Blackheart's Bay. Mm-hmm. They put out the announcer recently. That actor was in the studio. Seems like things are going that way.
Right.
And then whatever's being done with Haunted Mines, because on the PTR right now, it's out. Haunted Mines no longer in any game modes.
And I'm shedding zero tears for that. Yeah, Haunted Mines is such a fantastic concept. Such a neat idea to have upstairs, downstairs. But I have never enjoyed that map. I have never had a good win rate on it. I've never enjoyed it. Even in the old days, before its first rework, before it was first taken away for several months, I never enjoyed it, and now I still don't enjoy it. So I'm not missing Haunted Mines, but hopefully they figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah, it's such an odd puzzle to try to solve, and that's where I do butt heads with battle royales because I came to MOBAs to play a hero with an army around me. The same reason I ever even played Dynasty Warriors. Was that the...
That's the one where you kill an entire army as one person?
Yeah, and you just do a lot of spin attacks constantly. And and like about 10 minutes in, you're like, is this it? Why are there 20 of these? Who made all these games? But that's the draw. And you go in those mines, and now you're isolated and alone.
Yeah. 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 I think the maps that tend to work best for me are the ones that have clarity, and I never feel like Haunted Mines is clear. It's never clear as to what everybody should be doing, because there are strategies where everybody just stays up, and there are strategies where a few people stay up and let's get the merc camps, and a couple of people go down, and there's always one person on your team who's going down and just trying to get as many skulls as you can, and everybody it lacks a focus that I think the best maps have. Certainly Cursed Hollow is a great example of a very focused map, but I think also Alterac Pass has rocketed up my favorite maps. I think it's maybe my favorite map right now, and I think that's a great map that introduces what feels very fresh and different and doesn't feel like every other map in the game, but also is super focused and has its own flavor, but exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and creates really dynamic battles. It facilitates really focused contention between the teams, which is not easy to do, I think. And I hope that they find a way to bring that to all their maps, but especially Haunted Mines.
It's fascinating to think about Infernal Shrines, Alterac Pass, these maps that have a timer, something's building. In Haunted Mines, you see them get 3/4 of the skulls, and your brain just goes, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
there it is. But they're not until in Infernal Shrines, they're really all they have is 10 left, 5 left. Does your brain go, "Oh, we need to get out of here"? In Alterac Pass, it's got 10 seconds left, and your brain's still saying, maybe we can pull this off. There's something action-packed about that moment.
That's such a good point. Yeah, I don't know, maybe if you drop the skulls the way you drop coins or drop Spider Queen tokens, I don't know. I don't know how they fix that, but I think that's an excellent observation, that it is demoralizing when your team is still mucking about on top and the other team has already got 70 skulls, and you're just like, well, what's even the point of going down there at this point?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
It'll be crazy to see what they end up talking about there. Just in general too, this bigger conversation about what is a modern MOBA? What are our plans for the future?
Yeah. And I find that really exciting. I love that fluidity, and I think that makes for a really potentially cool thing. I mean, I'd love it to be a grander showing than just a couple of cool heroes. I'm down for the couple of cool heroes, but if they're really, pushing at what this game is and continuing to really look at it critically and add new systems, I think for me, that's what makes this game so fun and so interesting.
Well, certainly fun and interesting to me is the new hero. I've been requesting this thing for a long time. Mal'Ganis, the Dreadlord, is coming. He's got Vampiric Touch as his trait. This is a 45% of damage dealt to heroes, 15% of damage dealt to non-heroes, so you can expect to be feeding your life with everything you do. He's very melee. If I were to give him a quick comparison, you end up in about 5 different camps at once. Leoric, a little bit of Sonya, but to use the Illidan Chen, if Chen is a fat Illidan, Mal'Ganis is a fat Greymane.
Yeah, well, he's got those swipes, right? To get that, move him across the battlefield quickly, just like Greymane does. Yeah, he feels like a swipey, wolfy kind of fella as well. Yeah,
and it's such a great part for them to empower, because the old hero was just so labored by his auto attacks. He got these big old hands, these claws on him that just aren't good for. And he can't open his bottles. He stinks at everything but killing. Well,
that's why it led to a life of evil, because he can't open bottles. I mean, if the guy could just open a ketchup bottle for once in his life, he'd be so happy.
That's why he had, these hands weren't meant to create, they can only destroy.
Right, exactly.
He's got a Necrotic Embrace, which is actually a pretty sizable amount of damage. This is a W. Pop it. Desecrate the air in the area around you. You could also call it a fart, but let's say desecrate. And gain 25 armor for 3 seconds.
Yeah. I've definitely had to desecrate here and there in my time. Yeah, no, very cool. Very cool. I think his E is more even cooler.
Yeah, Night Rush. So he picks himself up, takes about, well, here, a second, but 0.75. Gain 50% movement speed for 2 seconds. While active, you can move through enemy heroes and allied heroes, and you put them to sleep for 2.5 seconds when doing so.
Yeah, so he's, able to do his own CC, which is rad, and kind of get around and behind people as he does it. He can move quickly with his fell claws on his Q. So he feels like a pretty mobile guy. I mean, you've had a lot of playtime with him. Does he feel mobile like that? Does he feel a little Illidan-y like Illidan?
You're going to have a threat range, and you're not as sticky as Illidan's going to be. I mean, think of that Worgen form Greymane. You're resilient. You have self-healing on top of it, which is going to feel great, but without using those swipes, people are going to kind of linger and get out of your way. In that way, your re-engage or your runaway looks a lot like Leoric. You're going to float up and get out of there without leaving your body behind.
Right. Yeah. He's cool. He's got a great look to him, too. Yeah. I mean, it's such an awesome carry. And then his heroics, dude, the dark conversion is the one that I was like, okay, this is cool. This feels like the whole reason this character got put in the game was for this mechanic.
Channel on enemy hero for, again, 0.75 seconds. Really careful crafting of these abilities. But then you swap health percentages for 3 seconds. So, you're low health. You see a high health target. Swap health. They get a sort of poison bar that shows them where their health is going to over that 3 seconds, and you begin to heal for that percentage.
Yeah, it's interesting that it doesn't happen instantaneously. 3 seconds is kind of long, and it doesn't happen instantaneously even to cast it. So it's got some interesting balance on there. But what a cool idea to, especially for a tank, to be like, oh, they're focusing me down. Oops, nope, I'm back up, and you're the one who's down. That's pretty rad.
In my games on the PTR, this has those clutch moments, of course, but you're going to get maybe mini CC'd, particularly when you're engaging into a battle. With low health, Johanna's going to do some vacuumage, and you're just going to go on that 8-second, 10-second cooldown rotation of being interrupted. What was
interesting,
really powerful about it was I had all this regen, and with my claws, I have decent lane clear. So I'm kind of doing this Yrel business, sustaining myself in a lower lane. But then the fight breaks out, and I arrive with that low health and instantly take their warrior, swap our healths out, and now they're at the disadvantage for that whole Warhead Junction nuke fight or wherever you may be going.
What a crazy cool philosophy or strategy is to literally report to the first fight or report to the objective low health in order to use that right away. What a cool idea. That's like an instant advantage because everybody's showing up all topped off and you're like, well, not me and now not you. That's cool.
And you might, like, there might be weird stuff develops. Like, let's say no one's bottom lane Sky Temple, and you want to go participate in the upper fight. So you go piss off the boss for about 7 seconds.
Just to lower your health down?
And then you make your way up there.
That's cool. That's an interesting dynamic that they've introduced to with that specific heroic.
In case y'all haven't noticed over the course of the show, my opinion of Clutch is awesome, but unlikely. I always want to give myself that advantage where I don't have to be totally sweet and aim correctly.
Right. Yeah, remove variables, right?
Why make life harder?
Yeah. So are you taking Dark Conversion more often than Carrion Swarm, or which ult did you tend to favor?
I definitely favored Carrion Swarm. This is after 1 second, disperse into an invulnerable swarm of bats for 3 seconds, dealing damage. And while you're dealing this damage to enemies in an AoE, you can move around freely. You maintain your momentum, so if you're walking forward, you, over 1 second, explode into bats and maintain that movement speed. And you get 100% of the swarm's damage back as health. So a great way, in a very tank way, to seduce people into engaging you. You're almost out. You become invulnerable. Heal back up to about half on top of about 3 targets, and then continue your engage.
And it has that talent that lets the bats linger, right? And hang out and do some more damage after you've converted back into your right form.
Yeah, they shoot out of you, and at a very small range, they shoot out these little bats, and they run into people and put you to sleep. So in that situation, that's a really great tool. If you get to level 20, you're saying, man, I'm not healing off of Carrion Swarm. I am running away constantly using the invulnerability. How about the people that are chasing me, knowing I'm going to turn back into a real dreadlord in 3 seconds? They go to sleep and leave me alone.
Yeah, pretty cool.
The big conversation is, can he solo tank?
And?
He's got the CC for it, so it's important to note that on your Fell Claws, you're going to have 3 swipes. Your first swipe deals damage, your second swipe deals damage, and then your third does a stun for 0.75, a fine amount of stun time in today's game design. This does show off what you're gonna do. That's to say, like, Johanna comes towards you and she goes, whoa, and like everyone goes, I can dodge that. Well, not really. It's not that long, but if you linger this thing out, if you weave, which is auto-attacking, so you do, you swipe, and then you take 2 seconds and attack some things, and then you swipe in order to catch up or do damage again. There's going to be about 6 seconds there where you're kind of informing the enemy team, hey, guess what I want to do in about that time? Maybe I'll stun you.
Right. So do you find that you're just spamming the 3 attacks in a row, or are you separating them out like that?
That's the thing, right? And like when you need to spam them, they're spammable. And you can get through these things really fast, get some good healing on your side. Of course, weaving's going to give you greater superiority for your mana return value. But you can get this thing out fast enough if there's some Nazebo next to you doing a Ravenous Spirit that you got to interrupt.
Cool.
He's got good sustain, good self-sustain coming back into him. He's got 1 more health point than Johanna and an auto attack the size of Diablo. So all these things are mixing into something that does look main tankable, but he's easily kited. As we kind of mentioned throughout here, all these things have a way to be interrupted. If he can't deal damage, he's not going to be able to heal himself. You have the armor, though, so that's interesting. But maybe 1 Ana grenade knocks you out of your whole tankability, since it's about healing yourself back in.
Right. So it sounds like he can main tank, solo tank.
Absolutely. And I don't think you would ever want to, in today's meta, have 1 tank 4 range DPS, do the sort of classic World of Warcraft. Though I think melee classes are just so cool in World of Warcraft now. I actually never see range DPS, it feels like. But he's really flavorful. I'm certainly really excited to play him. Some of his cool things I got to point out on his talents there. Vampiric Aura, level 1. It's what you want. It's what I want. Give lifesteal 10% to all physical damage to allies around you. So run a Rainer. He heals himself thanks to Vampiric Aura.
It's awesome.
Blind as a Bat at 16 is a new mechanic. Remove the Fell Claws cooldown, but you lose all vision.
So you're just this crazy swiping blind person.
To an extent. You are 100% blind. You cannot auto-attack because you can't find anything to select.
That is so wild. I think, is it the first time in the game? I think it is, that those overlays happen to you instead of to someone you're doing something to.
Yeah, because you got Dahaka, who isolates you.
Right.
But
you got the Gorge effect from Stitches. You got, even Uther's Divine Shield puts a big effect on you on your screen. But I don't know of anybody that has that effect that gets put on themselves.
And I can just see the esports replays as they're showing the player in the bottom camera, where normally they're looking really serious, maybe screaming. You can sometimes read their lips a little bit and you're like, oh my. But like this guy is like leaned sideways, like over his friend, looking at the other guy's computer so he can see where he's going.
That's funny. I didn't even think of that. That's wild. Yeah.
Or some guys being like, left.
Yeah. No, I bet the teams would do that. That's probably smart. He's like, he's above you, he's below you, he's to your, yeah.
But
that's funny.
You can see yourself healing. So if you are hitting something and you get more healing from hitting heroes than hitting minions, you can generally be like 45, 18. Okay, I'm in the lane. Oh, 45, that's a hero.
That's funny.
And then
I like how how crazy that is. That's one of the things I love about Heroes of the Storm is crazy stuff like this.
Well, and is that a tanking talent? You're going to have great sustain during it. You're going to be really scary. If somebody is like, oh, it's Mal'Ganis, he's the tank, and they stun you, you just took a stun that didn't go into one of your damages, so did you just tank?
Did you tank?
Did you, or are you dead and blind, and now you're screwed? Like, you know, one Deckard triangle comes out and you can't move anymore,
right?
And you're gonna look like a fool. There's been videos already of people being like on the a boss area. Warhead Junction was the particular one I saw, and the guy's blind as a bat, and a nuke lands, and he doesn't know how he dies. Vision comes back, and the mushroom clouds rising. It's like, oh well, guess I didn't dodge that circle effect.
Funny. That's funny. That's hilarious. But it is a level 20, so it's not like it's going to happen a lot. You know, it's late game kind of situations.
Well, it's at 16. And
is it 16? Oh, I thought it was 20.
I mean, it's an 80-second cooldown right now, but my real excitement is Infernal Shrines, where if you're just flailing in there, at least you're winning. You're getting the objective.
Yeah, you're going to hit something in there, for sure.
I mean, maybe Dreadlord Mal'Ganis is sad that Haunted Mines is going, because if you're flailing down there, at least it's a playpen that you're stuck in.
Yeah.
There's also level 20, Alone in the Dark. Night Rush reduces enemy vision. And this is a lot like the Blinds, but except for it has about Leoric auto attack range, so 2. If you're in melee, you can see. If you're not, you can't see anything.
Cool.
Yeah.
He seems like a really fun hero. I haven't had a chance to play him yet, but man, he seems really fun.
If anyone out there enjoys Diablo, you're already going to be pretty good at this sort of player. I would say Leoric is a good place to be looking if you want to get practiced up. I mean, he's on the PTR. For me, it's somebody I wanted for so long. I played a lot of AI this week, even after PTR slowed down after the initial 2 days. I loved playing him. He was fantastic.
It's awesome.
But there's a lot of other stuff to cover. There's a lot of PTR updates. We already talked about Haunted Mines. They are... Everything we're going to talk about today is heavily edited down. Make sure you read it for yourself. We're going to start in PTR land, and we're going to take a bit of a journey. These aren't just balance changes. These are a story. They are changing the way they want you to play this game a little bit. And up first is the healer update on the PTR. Supports are no longer going to be healing for the most part. And that's a required part of their kit. Like Morales, she can't heal herself unless she's healing something. She can still heal a minion or a mercenary. But just about every other healer, old and new, no longer can target those minions and mercenaries.
Yeah, they have some notable exceptions, but yeah, I'm surprised. It's a kind of a big change that you can only heal heroes for the vast majority of the healers in the game.
And things like pixie dust. Great. Like, let's not pixie dust some random mercenary while we're trying to heal somebody important. But some of them are actual things that you may notice, like Healing Totem or Breath of Life, the Dragon Q for Alexstrasza. When you are doing your business, you're going ham and you're not going to heal those lane minions. Holy Light, you may want to get a little heal on your Uther while something's in range. Might as well do it on this minion. That's no longer possible. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I used to play old school Tyrande with when she had an Uther's self-heal when you heal something else. I would just, heal up on all the minions to heal myself. It's an interesting change. I think you're right. It reduces misclicks. It reduces inadvertent not healing your teammates. But I kind of feel like that's not the only reason that they're doing it.
And with the damage where it is today, I wonder if they are seeing a lot of intended heals on a nearby mercenary for push power to keep that siege giant going. But in their post here, they're pretty clear that this is for unintended purposes.
Yeah, I guess so.
They've also changed on the PTR. Her healing dart will now pierce full health targets, which is a very good change for her.
Mm-hmm.
Some other notable things that are completely removed from this on the PTR right now. Kyrazim can now Radiant Dash to allied units, including mercenaries, creep tumors, and toxic nests.
The creep tumor is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even it's loading up, Abathur sees that Kyrazine's got to get out and gives him a little mine to jump to.
Yeah. I mean, that's some high level awareness, but yeah. I mean, I think the creep tumor thing is it's already there, and you're a Karazim just like panicking, like, what can I do? What can I do? Oh, look, there's a tumor. I just use that.
Sylvanas is getting a change to her mind control where she can clear the movement orders while the spell is being cast. This is a really big deal because if you see Sylvanas and you hear the music start to play and you start running away, until she gets control of you, you keep running in that direction, often outdistance her. So mind control is going to get a lot better.
Yeah, I've seen that happen quite a few times where it doesn't go exactly as the Sylvanas intended because someone, as soon as they hear that crazy music start up, they're booking it, So I think it's going to be even more frustrating as the player who gets affected by it.
Yeah, and there are situations, we're still in Questland at the moment in Heroes of the Storm, so lots of quick match stomp comps running around, and getting picked is never a very fun thing to have happen. I expect Sylvanas to make it a comeback in those environments.
Yeah.
Let's jump ahead to what's happening in the game right now. These released yesterday. These are live in your home game. And there's a lot of balance changes. Most of these are to just square everything up for BlizzCon. But they have some focuses. And one of the stories up top is they're buffing Brightwing, Lily, Stukov, and Morales. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as a Brightwing player, I'm excited about the cooldown reduction on that new D effect. It's a healthy reduction. It was 120 seconds down to 100, I think. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
That's big because that thing felt precious because you use it once and it feels like half the game goes by before you can use it again. I welcome that, and it looks like some of these other support changes are the Stukov and Morales trying to make them more viable support picks as well.
Yeah, Stukov's is pretty minor, a little touch-up to his level 13 It Hungers. Lily as well, getting 4% health, a 17% reduction to her Cloud Servant. They're nerfing Jugs, so they want you to, be diverse in your picks there. Something crazy to us at home. Lily, that's the emergency healer. Why are you messing with the emergency? Why are you giving her more health? She's dangerous.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like she does not need a buff.
But they want to see that diversity in the pro play. Perhaps what's the most telling part is what's happening with Morales. Morales is gaining health. Her safeguard cooldown is reduced by 2 seconds. Its armor is up by 5, so to 30. Displacement Grenade got its damage back up to where it was pre-support Apocalypse nerf. Mm-hmm. And she has a really nice level 13 adaptation for her EMP, increasing that damage. But this is the same talent that does bonus damage to all shields, which is really good with Kerrigan and all sorts of other shield characters running around right now. Yeah.
So maybe she will be back in to be picked again. I don't think it makes her fun, but
I mean, she is the closest thing to Holy Priest World of Warcraft, where you look at the damage meters on your raid and you see my name down there on Holy Priest, and you're like, oh, well, of course there's no damage there. He's busy.
Yeah, right.
And it's a relaxing place to be. And Safeguard, now that it costs no energy, no mana or anything like that, since she's on this healing beam energy system, is fun to use and dynamic. And, a lot of what I've been working on with skill shots this past 2 seasons has really benefited as to reading when incoming damage is going to come in. And I had a lot of fun on Morales trying out these changes. And that grenade hits like a truck. I mean, you're looking at 200 damage level 1 compared to a usual hit of about 109 on a support.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of you see a lot of final kill, with her, people that are good throwing that grenade in just the right spot as someone's trying to get away. But my problem with this is that I think Morales is in the game makes Mercy joining the game less likely, and I think Mercy's version of this is so much more interesting and more fun. And I think that's a shame because switching between, the 2 beams instead of the 1 beam, and having some of the more dynamic play that Mercy can bring to this game, I think would be more interesting than Morales personally.
Yeah, it's weird to, like, Tracer, not really a contender here, and 76 and all those sort of characters, not ones that I really played in my time in Overwatch. What was really fun in Overwatch to me was this, like, you're going to let me fly all the time? Like, don't you need me to collect rings, or I only get to go up to this ledge because there's a gargoyle head on it with my hook shot? I can go anywhere I want. And when these characters come over, it's like, oh yeah, Diva can boost, but it's on a cooldown, and I don't go up. So kind of lost that flavor. And Mercy, just her floating around with her heal beam and getting to hide behind a wall where it goes around a corner is just so satisfying.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. One of the real interesting things about Morales getting any sort of buff right now is something that probably a lot of people haven't seen, and something I've ran into a couple times in my own games. The Zool solo tank. Or the Kerrigan solo tank. And you're running a Blaze or Yrel or some sort of off lane with this to sort of empower it. But Yrel as well got a nerf this week. They took her Aegis of Light armor from 35 to 25 contribution and reduced its duration by 1 second. So they're trying to curb giving armor to shielded allies, which is what allows, when you think about per point of health, it makes way more sense when you think about esports. Everyone on that team is yelling, get X, kill X hero. And this focus fire comes in on that guy like some sort of Firefly missile zoomed out scenario. Only armor can save his life from such fantastic focus fire. Not healing. There's nothing to heal off. They're dead if this hits. So pros have started focusing in on armor as a way to mitigate that damage with shields to increase their overall health. Yrel's doing this. There's other heroes as well that are giving armor in the area, but now they're almost saying, like, if you really want to run this strat, how about we handicap you a little bit with Morales? You don't get to run Tyrande, bringing her spell armor. You have to run Morales if you want this. You
have to give up the damage on a hero in order to get this out of it,
So it's a really interesting situation. If they hadn't messed with this, we would have absolutely seen double support comps. We would have seen Zool Kerrigan, maybe main tanks at BlizzCon. This may be curbed now.
That's interesting. It's interesting to consider what might have been, and we will never know if that really was the way things were headed.
It's certainly surprising to suddenly see a Zool hit 16, and you've been killing Zool all game, and now he's invincible.
Yeah.
What happened?
As my 2-year-old likes to say, what happened?
That's adorable.
He always says that. What happened?
You wonder, too, like, when they're looking at the game in a watchable space, if armor just doesn't read to the viewer, because there's all these explosions and fireballs and auto attacks flying in on one guy, and you're like, yeah, they did it. Why didn't he die?
Yeah, why is Garrosh still alive? I don't get it.
And like, Garrosh has that situation where it's low health base, so he's still like limping away, and you're like, they fell for it. But when you see, Zool with full health just not dying because he has a shield over it with 50 armor contribution from Yrel and now Morales combining their abilities, your brain just goes, this fight had no point. This esport's boring. I'm done.
Yeah. They're not even hurting each other. Yeah.
To that note, I mean, Tyrande got a big nerf this week. Cooldown is up on Shadow Stalk. They went after that spell armor, taking it down by 5 to just 10, so stacking only to 20 now. Those are the big ones.
Yeah. Lunar Blaze bonus range is reduced, so you can't get those real long range stuns. Yeah.
I mean, you were playing quite a bit of Tyrande. She's still fine, I'd say.
I love her. I have fun with her again. I took a long vacation from her, over the last year, and it's fun that she's back. It's interesting to see how this nerf will play out a little bit, but maybe this will just mean that she's not banned so often.
I've certainly stopped. There is no bans on her really in my league at the moment. Worth saying though, my league is all team league. It's
That's an interesting thing. Yeah.
I went in this last week, play some Hero League. My queues were 15 minutes each, and And the psychology, the impact of that, you know, let's say you lose and then you wait 15 minutes, you stew, you know, my fellow players stew.
On 15-minute queues is just not playable in my opinion. That's just not a playable mode. That's a problem. I mean, I don't know if that's a problem or if the solution is just get rid of it and make Team League everything. I know you guys were talking about this last week too, but I'm not entirely opposed to that. I think that the success of Team League, the lack of not lack, but the reduced amount of negativity that I seem to encounter in Team League, I think all of those are huge upsides. I don't know if that changes if you remove Hero League altogether, but I think that what they've stumbled upon with Team League right now is really a good thing for the state of the game for ranked play.
And there's certainly big problems with queuing as groups. You know, when I do a 5-stack with my friends, we have been getting destroyed. And that's understandable because it's saying, okay, well, I got a range from diamond to bronze and you want me to make you a team? Well, here you go. Good luck. And we do that to ourselves. If you are, you know, non-maliciously queuing a diamond and a silver together and it gives you a weird match, you did it to yourself. But also that dynamic is really interesting, and it's such a team game at this point that it really doesn't matter. We played a game like this yesterday where surprisingly the highest league person on the other side, a diamond 5, was the Lily.
Yeah.
Her positioning was amazing and she was very dangerous.
Yeah, and we had the lowest league person on the other team was the Cassia, and Cassia was doing great, and it seemed like the entire team was just there to support the Cassia.
Yeah, and make her feel like a star. Meanwhile, it did appear that there was a bit of a, Alarak on the enemy side silver, let's get him kind of situation going on in the background. And certainly our chat was saying about the same. Oh, they noticed they got their prey, but that's an old strategy we've been talking about a long time here. Find the weak, find the weak one and pick them out.
Yeah.
Out of the stats we have right now, continue to report on that from last week. You know, looking at some like Kerrigan bans, which is happening in 80% of games right now. You got 27,000 Team League games compared to 15,000 in Hero League.
It's crazy. That's a huge upswing. I mean, especially when we know how long Team League has been just a ghost town. You know, it's huge. It's a huge swing.
And I wonder what's the impact of it being called Team League? Does someone load up and say, hero? I'm no hero. You know, that's one man. But as a team, I can pull that off. That's my environment. And we just get more team players in there. You know, I talked about the stew in there, but like even something as simple as playing safe. There was a situation that came up in one of my Hero League games this week where it was beneficial for me. I was stacking orbs. I'm Jaina. I want orbs. So I stop attacking my lane. I freeze it, to use my technical term. And I let the guy push out into me. And over again, he delivers his orb and my orb directly to me in my tower range. And I'm farming, and it's great. But my gray main, who just waited 15 minutes, didn't want to freeze his orb. And he died lane, and he just died over and over and over again. I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, like this guy just waited 15 minutes to play a game, and I'm supposed to tell him to not play? That the safest thing is to hide? What did he wait for?
Yeah, he's playing Grey Maid. He wants to swipe some people. That's all he's been sitting there waiting for. Yeah.
And in the draft, there was an Arthas, which if you're rock, paper, scissors town, Arthas is a no-fly zone for Grey Maid. You're done. You see an Arthas on the enemy side, do not pick Grey Maid. And he picked Grey Maid, and I can't be mad. Because he just waited 15 minutes to pick Grey Maid, and as soon as it loaded up, he showed Grey Maid, and there's no reason why. It's a video game. Why should I be able to stop him? So Team League has just been such a superior experience for me.
I believe it, man. I'm enjoying Team League as well. I haven't even really touched Hero League this season yet. And, I mean, I'm a little rusty right now also, so I'm disinclined to do that. But Team League feels like a lot less pressure and still fun, and you still got people, you know, bringing their best A game. It's not like unranked where people are just like, I'm going to try something I haven't played in a long time. People are still sort of bringing their A game, but it doesn't feel as snippy and negative sometimes. It's a lot of fun, and the fact, like you said, that the queue times are lower, that's a pretty big trifecta right there of making people want to play that mode.
Yeah, like the The people who AFK and looking for raid finders, they don't owe anybody. They're there on their own time. They're not wasting anybody else's time but their own. And so when someone goes into Hero League and the match is lost in the draft, it's as toxic as it is to have that thought, right? Like Artanis, no fly zone for Greymane. Like that was a game I did not put a lot of hope into. When you're with your friends, you want to show your friends a good time. You're going to try your hardest to the very end. And there's something about Team League that's making everybody I play with still give it their all, even if it starts out rough.
Yeah. I really, really hope they directly address this at BlizzCon. I want them to, and I have a meeting, one-on-one interview with the team. Hopefully I'll get somebody that can speak to this, because I'd love to ask some specific questions about it as well to the team. Because I find this to be one of the most fascinating things happening with this game right now is, did they see this coming? Is this the intended effect? And either way, if it was intended or not, do they view it as a positive? And how are they going to capitalize on what seems to me to be a pretty good result of the change to the requirement to queue for Team League?
There's also the investment to address there. Like, if they combine the leagues, do the Hero League people get their MMR?
Right.
Because I think a lot of people in Hero League are sitting there, particularly in my league, Diamond 3 at the moment, going, well, now hold on. If I play 30 more games, I win 20 of those, I'm Masters. So I've invested years into this mode, and you're going to turn it off? Or I'm almost there. Why don't I keep playing this? And they make themselves miserable, like those people who, again, to use the World of Warcraft scenario, like, you're mad at World of Warcraft, why are you playing? Well,
yeah,
because I'm invested. I've been here this long. It's a legit argument.
Yeah, and I also don't know if you switch off Hero League, if that ruins what was good about Team League, right? Is Team League this more positive place because it's an alternative to something?
Right.
That I think is an unanswered question.
Like burgers and hot dogs. The hot dogs are just there to trick the people who don't like burgers.
Yeah, if there were no burgers, it doesn't make hot dogs better.
No, they're still disappointing. Anyway, Whitemane did get some nerfs as well. She lost 2.5% of her total health, and Inquisition and Searing Lash lose 5% of their damage. You jumped on board yet, the Whitemane train?
I have not. I've just discovered Deckard Cain. So.
Oh, okay.
I'm always late. I'm never the hipster guy. I'm just I'm always late to the party on all the heroes. I kind of let the craziness settle on heroes and then come to them late and go, oh yeah, I see why everybody was excited about this person. So I'm sure I'll discover Whitemane in about a month.
Is that like a uniqueness sort of thing? Like everyone says I'm Warlock, and you're like, well, I'm not gonna be a Warlock. I'm gonna be a
I think else. Maybe. I think I don't like fighting over characters in draft. I like being able to sort of, if I'm working on a character, I like being able to solidly draft them I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of changes that happen to new characters too, and I sort of just let things settle a little bit before I don't know. I'm weird, I guess.
No, I think that's, I certainly do that a lot when too cool for school characters come out, like Malthael.
Yeah.
You're not going to stop me on Mal'Ganis, but Malthael was just too cool, and I'm like, I'm just going to let this wave pass, and I'll play him once everybody else has calmed down.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, the only character that I jumped on right away for whatever reason was Maiev, and I kind of regretted that. I was like, this character wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be.
Hey, Maiev, a great Merc taker.
Yeah.
There's a big surprise factor there. You take Naisha's Memento at 1, get that bouncing attack, and you can really school some Merc camps. I'd encourage people to run it right now, actually.
I might have to get back on her.
Continuing the sort of line of live balance changes. Now, moving out of the support equation, our only buff for the week that wasn't support was Rexxar. He got a little bit of power into his Grizzled Fortitude. This is his version of block, and a little bit of bonus slow duration on his level 7. Just little touches to Rexxar, who's always in limbo.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I've had a Rexxar in my games, even though he's always sort of good on any of the stand on the pad maps. I'm always happy to see a Rexxar if they know how to play him. But you just get very few people running Rexxar
I think in the end, it's how you lose on Rexar, which is everyone ignores Misha and you're dead.
Yeah.
So it takes a hardcore Rexar player to enjoy that.
Indeed.
Live balance nerfs: Kerrigan, Asmodan, Diablo, Cassia, and Medivh.
Yeah, well, the Kerrigan Asmodan seemed like no-brainers. That was just sort of like tick-tock on both those characters because they were both felt really oppressive, and I felt like if you got into a game and you didn't ban Kerrigan and Asmodan, you were doing it wrong. But for me, the Diablo and Cassia nerfs are a little more surprising. I think Cassia has had certainly a resurgence. But this Diablo nerf about lightning breath, this is a huge increase in the cooldown. I mean, 70 to 90 seconds, that's big.
Yeah. The science of this particular nerf is really interesting because if you engage on Diablo, you charge, you stun, you do double stuns because you're high level. And then you lightning breath, and you're unstoppable, and you clog the whole battlefield, and then they kill you. No problem, you res. You made your investment, you run back in, you got some kills. Those people are on 70 to 90 second death timers now in the late game. And you are alive and ready to use your ult at the 70-second mark, whereas they may be dead and then waiting on their 100-second ult. So this is actually to stop that rezzing Diablo from having his ult before the enemy has rezzed and got their ult as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. So it's not just no downside to using it and doing that worth death. But I don't know. I guess that's what people were doing with lightning breath, huh?
Yeah, the encouragement here, they did put a 0.25 second reduction back onto his diabolic momentum, so auto attack builds are going to benefit from that. The Cassia nerf is pretty tame. Lightning Fury, this is your Q. You're going from 4.5 scaling to 4% scaling. So they've been reverting this. That was their toy they were playing with about 3 months ago. They're reverting most of these changes. It's a 9% damage nerf at level 20. Cassia's fine. Don't worry about it too much.
Okay.
And I encourage people to play Cassia.
Yeah, I've seen you play Cassia quite a bit lately. That's cool.
The Kerrigan is just a nerf to her main build. She got 5% health increase for it, but they knocked out 5% of her shield amount contribution from her assimilation. And this is exactly what we talked about last week. The build, Fury of the Swarm, Connect.
It's hilarious. It just goes right down every pick on that build they nerfed. It's hilarious.
I know they run computer simulations with AIs running all day in computers on top speed to get their information. Of course, they're not going to see into the minds and what the internet can do and what the internet can culminate and grow over a short amount of time. But it's crazy that they just went, this build, gone. Get out of here.
Yeah. I guess it was just so, so prominently picked that they're just like, well, we got to do something about this.
Very synergistic. It just worked well.
And then the Asmodan nerf doesn't seem like enough to me. But I guess, there's a damage reduction, but 4% damage reduction, is that enough on just the Globe of Annihilation? That's all we need to get Asmodan back into the stratosphere?
I mean, he's a weird one because he doesn't have as big of an impact in pro play and organized play where he can be ganked, where he's kept down, where people can dodge the orbs, where people avoid grouping. I mean, things like Kael'thas, of course, don't have such a huge ban rate in pro play. So this is them, like, they're extending the olive branch. They're like, does 8 damage off it please you, home players? And we know not really. And the pro goes, we still can't run him. So they're stuck. It's a tough place to be. Certainly they are for pros targeting Medivh. They're getting another second onto Force of Will. This is his shield, and taking it from 8 seconds to 9 seconds. This is a pretty big deal for them who use it on cooldown because this now goes above things like Flame Strike on an 8-second cooldown. So 9-second cooldown, you're going to miss every other Flame Strike.
Yeah.
There's a couple little changes. If you are an anti-fan of Junkrat, They've now added a sort of chromie-like circle where he's throwing his mine. So as he throws in the air, you will see the circle appear early, and you will know if you are going to be launched at that angle.
But then it disappears, right? It just shows you when it goes down, but it's not there all the time, right?
Right. I mean, the spell effect normally shows you the mine and then the circle around it, but this now shows you early where that's going to end up.
Ah, I see. Oh, I see. So where it's sort of like Brightwing's spit, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you now have a notifier that you are going to be propelled over that wall.
Yeah. That's good.
And then Mephisto, they're trying to work you towards Durance of Hate more, reducing that cooldown by 20 seconds now, just 1 minute, taking spell damage off of Malicious Intent, and putting it into other talents in the area. They want you to get off Shield Barrier. They're trying to destroy his main build while inspiring you to get on to other things.
Are you still seeing Mephisto picked a lot in your league?
He is a heavy quick match candidate, maybe just for, being the new guy on the block. I don't see him in my home games. I bet you if Genji was running wild, Mephisto would be too. He's such a great damage opener. He's such a distraction force for things that can engage in the back, but they've really gotten rid of the hypermobile cleanup crew.
Yeah.
And without his buzz damage, kind of like we don't see a lot of Gul'dan right now, without that heavy frontal consistent damage to bruise people up for those characters to go in and get the business done, they have an odd place right now.
Yeah.
It feels like, and this is thinking about all these balance changes in a pile, what we're trying to work ourselves out of right now with balance is this feeling of you just explode. The whole team, the Garrosh throws you, and then everything collapses on you. It's not some structured Gul'dan bruises you up and then somebody kind of gets in your backline business. It is one thing goes wrong and hits you, and then everything hits you and you're gone.
Right.
Which is why the armor meta has developed and why they're trying to work you onto morale so you still have that weak spot when you want to run that. And that's an interesting question. I pose it to you and everybody else out there. What is your favorite version of the game? When do you feel like the meta's been most enjoyable for you?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. When has the meta been most? I mean, I loved it when, obviously, when Malthael was like all the rage, and I was, that's when I rocketed out of silver and into gold. I just sort of lined up magically that he was sort of a great meta hero, and I was playing him really well, and I was loving playing him, and it just all kind of worked. And then he got that nerf that changed some of the stuff around, and I haven't really fallen back in love with him. So maybe that was my favorite, just because I was getting wins. I think I went on like a 16 or 17 Hero League win streak, which was like insane for me. So it's a little selfish answer. I don't know about like my favorite version of the game. I mean, I think honestly, I don't know if it's just nostalgia or when I sort of originally fell in love with the game, but I do miss specialists having a better place. I feel like the changes made to laning and to taking ammo out and all that stuff has really de-emphasized specialists. And now we're at the point now where we're likely going to get this recategorization of everything, where it's not even a thing anymore. But I enjoyed that feeling of maybe wanting to have this lane pusher on your team and sort of forcing people to pay attention to that as well as objectives and all the other things you're doing. I don't know. What was yours?
I mean, we certainly, I think it's easy to be seduced by the wins, as you said. But what you said about Malthael rings true for me as well. It was when we were on the edge of hyper carries. We were moving out of them, but the game was highly readable. And in that way, we were doing coaching at that Malthael time. You looked at your Uther's cooldown and said, you've got Divine Shield, I've got my Heroic too, and let's coordinate these two things into something victorious. And that compartmentalization of the tanks tanking, I'm doing damage, and the support's supporting, made the game a very interesting read and made finding the correct target easier and more rewarding. When you're getting bumper card by Diva rushes in and you get bumped back, and then Lucio bumps you back, and then Falstad, a hammer flies from over the wall and you explode from those 3 sources of damage, and that each one took a third of your health. That's where maybe things can become frustrating, when instead of just being like, whoa, I got bumped, and then Falstad kills you, like, oh, Falstad got me. I can kill Falstad. That's doable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it comes back to that clarity thing we were talking about earlier. And I think that applies to a lot of games, not just this one. You know, I think of even taking down a boss or a raid boss in World of Warcraft, and, you know, the clarity of knowing what to do, and then the question of execution is ultimately, I think, more fun than just being like, I don't even know what killed, what was I doing wrong? Was I standing in something? I don't even know. You know, that, and I think that's applicable here. It's a clarity of understanding what we are doing together as a team brings more fun. It's fun to have the question then, now we both know what we're supposed to do. Are we doing it? Let's do it. Let's figure out the best ways to do it, rather than just keep missing each other and missing our cues, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and right now it looks like we're moving back towards a more even playing field. Supports and warriors are all in need of contributions. Nobody wants to be a stun bot. No one wants to be a heal bot. Dealing damage is a very exciting form of the game. And we keep coming up with these fantastic ways to argue with the video game itself, like solo tank Kerrigan. You can just imagine the balance designer sitting there being like, stop!
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. Right. We didn't want that. We have an entire group of heroes that do that. Don't make this one that. Yeah, that's funny.
Before we end, I do want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/ITN. Thank you for supporting this show. Thank you for allowing us to have guests like Jeff Cannata here. We are very, very close to what we're calling our pro opinion goal. This is where we hire a pro, a member of the community, a professional. That's really important to say. These are professionals. Video gaming, esports is a profession. And I certainly want to make the stance. I want to put it out in the world that this is something that they deserve to be paid for their time, and a reason why they should put aside that hour to answer our emails and put aside that 2 hours to come on our show and have that professional experience here with us. So we're really close to that goal. Support us over at patreon.com. This week, we want to thank Mitch R., Tane, and Mache B. Thank you for your support.
I'm grateful as well. I'm grateful that I get the opportunity to be on the show. It's because you guys support ITN. It's one of my favorite shows before I was ever involved, and I'm so grateful to be able to be here. And I'm anxious to hear those pro opinions on this show, so I hope you guys can step up to the plate and support the show and hit that goal.
And I love having you on this show, Jeff, because you provide such a great aspect. You're very well thought out in your opinions. It's not, I hate X. There's a reason why in the background. And it's so great to have you on the show, even in a balanced episode like this, because these do matter at home. And they're not just numbers. Right. And what does that play experience feel like?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I love weighing in on this stuff. I love the detail, and I love your insight, and Garrett as well when he's here. As I said, it's one of my favorite shows before I was ever involved in it. So I'm glad you guys are making it and making it at such a high level.
You can find this show and others like it over at twitch.tv/amovetv as well as amove.tv. Follow the show on ITN Cast on Twitter, and you can find our intro music by Gorath and our outro music by Brian Griffith. Jeff, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Jeff Cannata. That's spelled with 2 N's and 1 T. And I do a weekly video game show about all video games, including this one. It's called DLC, and you can find it at 5by5.tv/DLC.
You can find me on Twitter at Kyle Fergusson. You can find my streams at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson, where we are playing lots and lots of solo queue Team League, and it's a fascinating and enjoyable experience. I hope you'll join me soon. We'll see you all next week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting. Take care.
Stay positive. Don't die.
And Garrett would say good luck, have fun. And that